So when you first find out you're having a baby, you and your partner are obviously filled with all the normal emotions like joy and happiness and excitement. But about 30 seconds later, the anxiety starts to set in. And if you're in your 20s or 30s and you're planning on having kids, you know exactly what I mean. The second that all the excitement starts to settle, your brain starts going through a bunch of numbers that you've never had to think about before. Rent, daycare, nursery, strollers, time off work, all those type of things. And underneath all of that worrying is one quiet question. Can we actually afford this? And here's the thing that no one really tells you. It's that question doesn't really have a true answer. Because when you live in an expensive city like New York, afford is a moving target. That version of yourself that you imagine is financially ready and has a good savings account and invests regularly and has plenty of buffer left over for having a kid and all those type of expenses, that person is always 6 months away, 1 year away, always. And I've struggled with this a lot, and I've had to learn this the hard way over the years. You don't actually need to feel ready, you just need a really good plan. Because feeling ready is just an emotion. A plan is something different. A plan is something that you can actually build in reality. A plan tells you exactly what's coming, exactly what you're saving for, and exactly what to do when things go sideways, because inevitably it will. And the craziest part is that once we started building a plan and stopped worrying about feeling ready, the anxiety actually started to drop. Not because the finances got cheaper or simpler, it's just that you don't have this big unknown weighing on you. The plan isn't some loose thing that's floating around in our heads that we talk about every now and then. It's something that's actually real, it's in our notes app, it's in a Google Doc, and we refer to it daily. That's really what this whole video is about. You're trading the panic of not knowing for the peace of mind of having a plan. So now let's get into the actual numbers that we're working with, starting with what we're projecting year one to cost in an expensive city. All right, so let's talk numbers, and I wanna be upfront with you about something before we get started. Our son is due in a couple months, and so everything that I'm gonna share is a projection, not what we actually paid. And honestly, that's the version of this video that I wish existed when we first found out that we were pregnant. Because every cost of having a baby video on YouTube is from parents who are looking backwards. And they're often using national averages, which include places where the rent is like $800 a month. And so no shade to anyone living in those places, but quite frankly, those videos aren't very helpful to anyone living here in New York City. So here's the actual breakdown for our family living in Manhattan in 2026. We built our year one projection around 5 categories: hospital and delivery, one-time gear, recurring monthly costs, healthcare, and childcare. Let me walk you through each one. Category 1 is hospital and delivery. In New York City, a delivery gets billed to insurance anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000. And if you have to get a C-section, those tend to run higher, anywhere from $20,000 to $35,000. And like I said, those numbers are the numbers that are billed to insurance from your hospital, but here's what you might actually have to pay. With private insurance in New York, parents end up paying out of pocket around $3,000 to $7,000. And obviously that depends on your deductible, your out-of-pocket maximum, and if you've hit it already. So to get these estimates, we actually called our hospital's billing department directly. A lot of people don't know that you can do that. We gave them our insurance information, like our insurance card, and they were able to give us these estimated ranges, which was super helpful, especially when we're trying to build a budget and a plan. So when me and my wife were talking about it, we ended up budgeting $6,000 for this just to be safe. Category 2 is one-time gear. This is the stuff that you buy once and ideally don't have to buy again. Things like a stroller, a crib, a car seat, a monitor, stuff like that. What surprised us is that these things aren't actually that bad. You just have to make sure that you don't fall for any marketing that forces you into paying for the luxury version of every single one of these things. This is a quick side note. Just be aware that baby gear marketing is designed to make you feel like you're a bad parent if you don't buy the $1,000 stroller or the $3,000 crib. And so please don't fall for that stuff. Your child isn't going to be messed up because they didn't get the most expensive stroller. A lot of that has to do with parenting, and so don't make yourself feel guilty because you can't afford the nicest version or the most expensive version of every single baby product. So for us, as we're looking through these things, our budgeting philosophy is smart but not cheap. And when I say smart, I mean going for like the safest version of a car seat or a really sturdy, durable stroller. And this may not apply to you, but for us personally, we were actually able to get some hand-me-down stuff as well from family members. So now I'm gonna show you what we actually bought and what we're actually getting. So now I'm actually gonna show you what we've been getting, and I'm gonna tell you the prices. So let's go over here. Your boy's a vlogger now. So this is the stroller that we got. The brand is UPPAbaby, and it's the Vista. And these retail brand new for around $1,000 online. But my wife actually got this one pre-owned on Facebook Marketplace. So it honestly looks great. There's definitely some wear and tear. You can see there's like a few scratches there. But yeah, honestly, it looks really good. So next, this
is the car seat stroller that we got. And so it's a combined car seat, and you can see there it folds up into a stroller. And this one also has like the baby infant insert. And so this one is from a brand called Duna, and it's honestly a pretty popular brand for baby stuff. And this one retails for around $650. And just so you know, there is a lot of stuff that we ended up buying that I didn't put into the calculation that I'm going to share with you in a second. The calculation that I'm giving you just includes big stuff like the crib, the changing table, and the strollers I just showed you. But I'll just show you what else we got. So all this like little stuff, like, you know, medicine things, toys, storage bins, more toys, this thingy, I don't even know what it's called, all these blankets. So all of that type of stuff, we've been spending like random amounts of money on Amazon buying, but just to be clear, I did not include that in the big number that I'm about to share with you. All right, so next I'm gonna take you in here. And just so you know, for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna show you like the big things that we bought, because those are the things that you really have to like plan for ahead of time. But just to be transparent, we did buy a lot of like little things on Amazon, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna show you the big stuff. So this is the crib that we bought. It's a pretty big crib. As you can see, it takes up most of the nursery space, but we figured he's gonna grow into it, and so we ended up getting that. This is the changing table that we ended up buying. It seems like a pretty good one. I mean, I don't know anything about this stuff, but lots of storage, more storage down there. We've got these storage bins over here. Again, it's pretty big, but it seems like it's pretty useful. And I would say, so we bought this bookcase thing, like for storage. It's not really a baby expense, but we did buy it. So yeah, between the crib, the changing table, this bookcase that we bought, and then we have the Duna and the big stroller. So yeah, these are all some of the big things that we recommend planning for in your calculation.
Category 3 is recurring monthly costs. This category is pretty small per item, but it adds up fast. Things like diapers, wipes, feeding supplies, that type of stuff. So for this, before we even started researching, we knew that it was gonna be a couple $100s per month. And so for this stuff, because it's a recurring monthly cost, we're actually treating it as any other line item in our family budget, just like groceries or utilities. And so again, these numbers are from people that we talked to, our friends that already have kids, and some research that we did online. And so for diapers, we're projecting $100 per month, and for wipes, another $20 a month. We're planning on nursing, but if we do use formula, we're calculating another $250 a month for that. For clothes, we're projecting $50 to $70 per month, mostly because they outgrow everything so quickly. And we were really lucky to get a lot of clothes as gifts, so we're super grateful for that. And so when you add all that up, we're projecting around $400 per month for these recurring basics. So category 4 is healthcare. Things like pediatrician visits, the copays associated with it, and any other emergencies that might pop up. So to get these numbers, we actually talked directly to our pediatrician. She recommended saving for monthly pediatrician visits for the first 6 months. This doesn't mean that you'll actually be going that often. This just takes into account the fact that you might have to go for an emergency or something. And so that's projecting 6 visits in the first 6 months. And so with that, we calculated our projected copays, our deductible, and any other like specialty tests or costs like that. And another thing involving healthcare, adding our son to our insurance plan bumps our premium up by a couple $100s every month, so we are taking that into account as well. Obviously, healthcare is very unpredictable, and so for our plan, we're budgeting $250 per month for healthcare costs. And then there's category 5, childcare. Where do I start with childcare? Childcare is a beast. Honestly, I could do a whole video on childcare alone, and I might actually do that. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you would be interested in. Childcare costs are so big, so unique, especially when you live in an expensive city like New York. It's kind of crazy, the numbers, that I'm actually gonna create a whole section in this video just for childcare. So that's coming up next. Before we dive into childcare, I'm gonna show you how we got our numbers. The main one was just having conversations with my friends and my clients who have kids in New York City, and what their experiences have been like. We also asked our pediatrician and all the resources at NYU Hospital. And aside from that stuff, we obviously did a bunch of research online, and we actually walked into a few daycares and stuff like that and got some estimates from them. So let's bookmark childcare, because we're gonna talk about that in the next section. When it comes to our year 1 projection, we're calculating $15,000 to $20,000 in our first year, not including childcare costs. And again, that's hospital and delivery, one-time gear, healthcare, and monthly recurring costs. All right, now let's dive into childcare. All right, childcare. So this is the part of the plan that I probably hated researching and planning the most, because this is where the most amount of anxiety started to flow in. The cost of childcare, at least in New York City, is honestly like mind-blowing. So for childcare, we looked into nannies and daycare specifically. So in Manhattan, full-time infant daycare runs anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 per month. And so those are just the ones that we researched. And so there's a lot of premium ones that market themselves as like luxury or whatever. And they go for anywhere from $4,000, $5,000 and up. And that's not a typo, $4,000 or $5,000 for one kid. It's crazy. And so yeah, the exact feeling that you're having right now is the exact feeling that I had. It's so crazy how expensive childcare can be. The fact that some people pay $5,000, $6,000 a month to go to these premium places is honestly insane. And like I said, this is where the anxiety started to creep in for me. So if you want a nanny instead, you're looking at anywhere from $25 to $35 an hour or $4,000 to $6,000 per month. And again, these numbers are numbers that we researched and talked to friends about, and this is specifically for full-time nannies in Manhattan. And just so you know, there are things like nanny shares where you split the cost of a nanny with another family, but we haven't really dove too deep into that yet, but we might. Now here's the part that when people are planning, they often forget. This isn't just a year one expense, this is a 3, 4, maybe even 5-year expense. In New York City, pre-K starts at 4 years old. And if you're lucky, there are free 3K programs, but it's really hard to get a seat, so you can't really bank on that. So just remember that you have to take into account that childcare is a cost that you're gonna pay as soon as your parental leave ends to when they start school. And so for those first few years, on the low end, you're paying over $100,000 in childcare. And obviously if you go the premium route for one of those fancy places, you're paying way more than that. These numbers are crazy because it's essentially like having another mortgage payment or a rent payment for 5 years, which is insane. So all my complaining aside, here's what we're actually doing about it. First, my wife and I have been researching daycare centers and nanny costs pretty much since we first found out that we were pregnant. We knew that this was gonna be a really big cost for us in the next couple of years, so we wanted to get a head start on research. There's a lot of variables that go into projecting these costs. You know, daycare and nannies cost different things, especially if you go the premium route. When it comes to nannies, sometimes you can pay more if you want them to do other tasks around your house. So you have to run through a few scenarios, right? You have to make sure that you look at the trade-offs and the lifestyle impact of whatever decision you choose. So for us, when it comes to childcare, we still haven't committed to a specific path yet. We're gonna keep touring, keep running the numbers, and eventually we'll figure out whatever plan works best for us. So the main takeaway from this section is that childcare isn't just another line item, it is the line item. Every other financial decision in your life from this moment on has to take into account the fact that you're gonna be paying a lot in childcare for the next 4 or 5 years. And obviously living in New York, I talk to a lot of high net worth individuals, and pretty much everyone I know struggles with childcare. And the only people that I've met that actually feel good about it are people that came up with a plan ahead of time. And so that's what we're trying to do. So for childcare, we're gonna keep researching, keep talking to people, and we're gonna start saving for this big expense. And that's exactly what I wanna walk you through next. Because the saving system that we created for this, we call it our baby buffer, is the one thing that's helped me sleep at night over the past few months. Let's get into it. So if you've made it this far into the video, you've already gotten through the scary numbers like healthcare, one-time gear, and childcare. Now let me tell you exactly what's given me peace of mind over the past couple months. We built something called the baby buffer. It's basically just what me and my wife started calling our dedicated savings bucket for our baby. And it's the single most important thing that we've done since finding out that we were pregnant. Here's what it actually is. A separate high-yield savings account that's completely independent from our emergency fund. And right now, at the time of recording this video, it's earning around 3.25% interest. And we're funding it on a schedule every single week, just like any other bill. So if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know that I usually recommend a monthly savings goal, but because we're on the clock and we only have 9 months until our baby comes, I actually switched it to a weekly schedule because I just wanted to get the ball rolling. So here's the math for our baby buffer. Our target for this baby buffer is 3 months of new baby expenses plus a cushion for delivery costs. For us, that number came out to around $15,000 to $20,000 by the time that he arrives. And I wanna clarify, that's our number. This is not a prescription. And so you're gonna have to go through your numbers, add it all up, add a cushion for your delivery costs, and see what that number is for you. The point isn't the actual number. The point is that you actually have this system and that you're contributing to it every single month, every single week. Now, I want to walk you through why this works because the baby buffer does 3 magical things. First thing is that it absorbs all the unknowns that are flowing around in your head. For example, you don't actually know what the delivery is going to cost until you're holding the bill in your hand. You don't actually know what your kid is going to need in the first 3 months. And you don't actually know what postpartum is going to look like for your wife. So this baby buffer that you're building is designed to tackle all of those unknowns. What you don't want to do is use your emergency fund or your retirement or your savings or any other investments that you have to tackle these unknowns, because that's really going to limit your long-term wealth. And that leads me to the second thing that this baby buffer does. It helps protect the rest of your financial life. So if something non-baby related pops up in your life, something around the house or something with your car, you have an emergency fund that's dedicated to that, and then you have this baby buffer that's dedicated to all the baby related things. And the third thing it does is it changes how you feel. For the past few months, every time I see that baby buffer start to grow a little bit, my anxiety starts to go down. Because I look at it this way, every dollar in that account is a dollar that's dedicated to peace of mind. So this might be a hot take, but here's what I want you to take away from this. You're not saving for your baby. Your baby doesn't need money. You're saving for you. You're saving for the version of you that's going to be sleep deprived, emotionally stressed, and just completely burnt out from all the new baby related things. So why not come up with a plan ahead of time to help that burnt out version of yourself make financial decisions? So here's a quick recap on the baby buffer. Open a separate high yield savings account. Use all of the estimates that you've been researching and come up with a target number that you feel comfortable with having in the baby buffer when your baby arrives. Then you're going to do some quick math and calculate how much you need to contribute weekly to hit that number. And then go into your high yield savings account, set the automatic transfers for every week, and then just watch your baby buffer grow. Now I want to walk you through the part of the process that separates parents who feel in control from parents who feel behind. You have to plan for the long game. These are decisions that if you make them early, they save you tens of thousands of dollars and lots of stress in the future. So when it comes to playing the long game, here are the 3 things on our list. Number 1, we're opening up a 529 account. Here in New York, we actually have one of the better state-sponsored 529 plans in the entire country. It's the New York 529 Direct Plan. Contributions grow tax-free for qualified education expenses. And New York State gives you an income tax deduction up to $10,000 for married couples filing jointly and $5,000 for single filers. So for a couple in New York City, that's around $500 to $1,000 back into your pocket every single year just for putting aside money for your kid. And here's something that a lot of parents don't know about. If your kid ends up not using all of the money in the 529 for education expenses, you can actually roll up to $35,000 into a Roth IRA in their name. This means that no matter what they end up doing later on in life, your kid is gonna have a head start. Number 2 is term life insurance for both parents. Here's the part about life insurance that most people my age don't know, and I actually just learned this recently too. Term life insurance is actually really cheap when you're young and you're healthy. So for someone that's young and in relatively good shape, a 20-year, $500,000 policy is gonna run you around $30 per month. And if you want $1 million policy, that's gonna run you around $50 to $60 per month. So for my wife and I, we're actually locking in our coverage now while we're young and healthy and the rates are at their lowest. And the third thing is the 30-day rule for health insurance. So the moment your baby is born, you have a small window. Usually it's 30 days, but sometimes it's 60 days where you have to add them to your insurance plan. If you miss it, you're gonna end up being uninsured or just paying out of pocket until open enrollment starts again. We actually already pre-registered with our insurance providers, and so the second he's born, we really just have like one phone call to make or a little bit of paperwork. I know none of this stuff is exciting. It's definitely not as exciting as setting up the nursery or buying toys and clothes, but the 529, term life insurance, and reminding yourself to add them to your insurance plan within that window, these are the type of things that financially prepared parents prepare for. Now, if you made it this far into the video, I wanna make sure I send you away with something super valuable. If you take nothing else away from this video, I want you to take away what I'm about to talk about in the next couple minutes. The biggest financial change that's happened in the past few months since we found out we were pregnant, it wasn't the numbers, it wasn't the spreadsheets. It was something that I really didn't see coming. So for pretty much my entire adult life, every single financial decision I've ever made gets filtered through one question. Is this the right move for me? Is this the right job? Is this the right apartment? Should I take this risk? Should I start this new thing? And honestly, that filter has served me pretty well. I mean, it got me here and it's helped me build a life that I'm proud of. But a few months ago, we saw this and my filter completely changed. Instead of asking, is this the right move for me? I started asking, does this move make sense for my family? And that's it. That's honestly the whole thing. Every move I make, every dollar, every risk, every investment has to go through that filter now. I thought that adding a kid to my financial life was gonna feel like a restraint, but actually it feels like the complete opposite. It gave me a lot of clarity. Now I know that all this financial stuff that I'm talking about, investing, saving, building wealth, now I know exactly who it's all for. It's not just me, it's not just my wife, it's for the three of us. And now I'm obviously still on my financial journey, so I'm not some guru or expert, but I really do believe that if you're starting to get this mental shift, I do think that you're on the right path, because now you're making financial decisions for the exact right reasons. One of the biggest financial decisions that you're gonna have to make is whether you rent or if you buy a home. In this video, I walk you through exactly how to calculate which is the best decision for you and your family.